I know everybody's probably sick of polls, but I'm going to start out with a poll. How much of your learning since sort of the beginning from when you were born happened because of or through the internet, right? So there's no one all the way up. There are a lot of people kind of sideways. One of the things I think we have to be aware of is that we as sort of pre-internet people are trying to design a system for post-internet people, and our cognitive models are going to be fundamentally slightly different. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this shift. There's life before the internet. Life was simple. You know, things were relatively predictable. You had things that sounded a lot like Newton's laws of physics, where this would happen, then this would happen. But after internet, the world became extremely complex, extremely fast, extremely unpredictable. How can we, as a people who lived our lives believing that there were rules and laws that could predict the future, how can we think about a world where our kids live in a world where they fundamentally don't believe that you can predict things, and where resilience, we talk about resilience as if it were some sort of big aha. Well, I think for a lot of our kids, that's kind of the status quo. That's how they think. And so I think we really need to sort of frame what we're talking about. So in the old days, when you wanted to create a network service, or let's say an online learning platform, you would have had to raise millions, if not billions of dollars. But what happened with internet software and consumer internet services, well, Google, Yahoo, Facebook, none of these people had any money before they launched their service. Google raised $50 million after they had their product, but before they had a business model. So in the old days, you had to sit around and have all this theory to explain why you needed the money. Today, you build the thing, it starts to grow like crazy, and then the money people chase you down and try to give you money. How does that change things? So it changes the nature of risk. And what happens here is that you don't sit around trying to protect the downside. You let the kids roll. And what's really, really important, I once had a company I was trying to raise money for, and the company that was trying to think about investing spent $3 million on a feasibility study to decide not to invest $300,000. Okay? So reality is a really good way of gathering data, and the way you get reality is you try things. Agility is also very important. If you had been a YouTube user in 2005, the default would have been, I am male, seeking everyone between 18 and 45, upload video. YouTube was a dating site with video in 2005. It didn't work. They pivoted, and they became a Flickr for video, and then they eventually found MySpace, which launched them into the future. But the fact that they were able to pivot was extremely important, and they were only able to pivot because they hadn't spent 3 years and $100 million. Otherwise, they would have said, well, let's try a little bit longer. The other thing is serendipity. If you plan everything and if you're focused, there are a lot of studies that show that the more you focus, the less you're aware of what's going on around you. And serendipity is really, really important because those are where you find the pivot opportunities, and you can't get lucky if you plan everything. And so the question that I have when I start to map this onto learning and education is, do you want your kid to be the kid who doesn't know anything when the event happens, but is able to rapidly put together a team and sort of from scratch build something like Safecast? Or do you want your, and this is, again, a slightly false dichotomy, but you can prepare all you want, but if you don't have the ability to pull the things from the network, you can fail. And so the point here is we come from an era of design, industrial design, where the engineers design things, to when Steve Jobs would design things caring about the user, to participatory design, where you kind of poll people to find out what they want, to, I think, co-design, which is actually empowering people to design their own stuff. And that's kind of a lot of the philosophy around the maker movement. But I think as we think about how do we reinvent learning, a lot of the students and the teachers that are going to be here today is one step, which is really important, but is really how do you engage the constituents to design for themselves the solutions and not try to design everything from top down.